This is the GPL podcast, part of the Pull Tab Sports family.
Oh boy. Jupe making mistakes. I love it.
Is that when I get to pour another old fashioned? I was told it's okay.
Oh, yes.
I tip this on the show. Okay.
75 cent Mick the bottles every Thursday, Friday night at Grandma's Restaurant Saloon. 18 party, 21 to drink. Come on down.
Now, here's Jupiter and Vigo. Good evening. Welcome to the GPL podcast, episode number 299. Well, Vigs, not a great weekend at Penn State.
Yeah, I think we were hoping for a split, maybe with, maroon and gold colored glasses, but it just didn't come together for the Gophers last weekend. Happy Valley has been a tough place for Minnesota, and it is again this year.
Well, before we get too much into that, let's talk to somebody who's had a little experience with some Gopher hockey and some, downtimes in Gopher hockey too. Let's bring him in. Nick Angell, how's it going, man? Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Number 299. I'm so excited that you're going to have somebody really special for 300.
We've had Pat on quite a few times. He's perfect for our 300. It's gonna be fun to have Pat. And on at 7 o'clock at night, so long before he goes. Well, a few minutes before he goes to bed. So
right after that tater tot hot dish or meatloaf.
Strong overtime potential for show number 300 too.
We might have to bring in some guests. Don't you think, Vig?
Just throwing that out there to GPL Nation.
Yeah. All right, Vigs, let's talk about it. That Friday night game was bad. It was just bad all around.
I think one of the things that stood out to me about Friday night is a lot of the Gopher chances were one player all by themselves. A lot of times it was just one player with a decent scoring chance, but because there's no secondary puck support, there's no urgency to the game, there's no defenseman joining the rush, everything was just quickly extinguished by Penn State. And I think we've learned the last year and a half, Penn State hockey has gotten a little bit better. There's a little bit more structure, and it's not going to come easy for teams when they play against Penn State. And the Gophers were just solo efforts, rush after rush, shift after shift. And it's really hard to be successful in college hockey if that's what you got.
3-0 loss, Nick. Yikes.
I mean, I'm always impressed with Vigo's takes. I've messaged him a couple times and just say, hey, you are a great hockey mind. And I think he's dead right. It was, some individual efforts, but if it's just a bunch of individual efforts, you're going to lose as a team. That's how it's going to happen. And that's what happened.
Well, sometimes I would say an individual effort could really lift a team, but there was just none of that.
Well, I think sometimes an individual effort can help a team if the other team makes a mistake. But I think when the other team is in their structure, you can't play that kind of hockey. You're going to have to hold on to pucks. You're going to have to buy time because even if you do get a quality shot, the goalie is only focused on you. There's no threat for them to have to push across. There's no threat for them to get off their angle. Good goaltenders aren't scared of one shooter coming down one side of the ice with three defenders out there. It's when you have the threat of maybe a pass or shoot, or you're able to change the angle. That's when you can threaten goaltenders. But if it's just an individual effort, one side of the ice out of nothing, goalies love that all day. I think we saw a couple goalies at Minnesota State put up some really good stats when they had that structure in front of them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And then, we've got a 5-2 loss Saturday. I was listening to part of the radio broadcast praising them. Oh, they played much better. They really didn't play too bad, but Vigs, still a 5-2 loss.
Well, the way the end of the game shook out, they did have a chance to maybe get in it on Saturday, whereas I thought Friday there just weren't very many chances for them to get into it. Obviously, the goaltending for Minnesota this year has not been great. If you look at the advanced stats for the two games, they're not that far apart. But what you're seeing is the other teams are getting a little bit better goaltending, and the Gophers are not. And we saw that as Motzko pulled Erie on Saturday, giving up that critical goal at the end of the first. That's a downer, and too much for this team to overcome. They just can't outscore mistakes like that, and it's really one of the things holding them back.
And that's kind of what I was going to say, Nick, is, DePasco came in. He's already down 3-0, hoping to inspire the team. He didn't do that bad the rest of the game. I think he played a pretty good game, but like Vigo said, they just don't have the offense to come back.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, anytime, if we're just being honest, let's call this year, it's been a bit of a rebuilding year. It's tough if you're in a rebuilding year and you're down 3-rip, 2-rip, it's tough to come back from that, right? And you have to have a good start. And they had to start on Saturday. Was it Zemer that scored, I think, right off the bat? And it's like, okay, we got a good start here. And, when your team is lacking a little bit, you need a couple big saves that are going to keep you in it and keep the team buzzing. And they haven't gotten that. I don't think either of the goalies has played bad. They're doing well, but you need that big save that just keeps you in it, that 1 or 2 times a game where, hey, go pat your goalie on the shin pad or on the pads because he kept us in this one, and now he's giving us a chance to win. And when you go down a few goals right off the bat, it's pretty tough.
And Viggs, we've actually talked about that all this year. We're like, we just want to see that save maybe they're not supposed to make, just something to give them a push, and we just haven't seen it in the goaltending area.
Yeah, because this team has been chasing a lot this year. I'm sure Gopher Hockey Stats could probably pin it out better than I could, but it just seems like they're playing from behind a lot, and they're not getting that extra save early in the game that allows them to maybe get some momentum, maybe get a lead, and it's just costing them quite a bit this year. And the other side of it is, the defense isn't taking away enough from the other team. If you looked at what Penn State did to the Gophers this weekend, their defensemen were involved in a lot of scoring plays for them. It wasn't Gavin McKenna, putting on a show. It wasn't Serrato putting on a show. It was a lot of defensemen who were adding themselves to the rush and capitalizing as they could outman Minnesota at the net.
So a rough weekend for the Gophers. And about an hour and a half ago, we had a Gopher Hockey 365 was kind of going back and forth with me and you, Nick, and you're like, maybe I could write something up. But basically, he was wondering, what's it like to have a losing season? What's it like to recover? What does it take to come back? You experienced that, at the end of the Doug Woog era, moving into the Don Lucia era. What did it take to make the team and the program turn around?
Yeah, it was, we're texting or tweeting back and forth, whatever you're calling it these days. And, I was trying to come up with like what it is exactly, right? Because when you're in the moment and you're a below 500 team, I forget the exact stat, and I'm sure we'll see it in the comments, 467 or something like that was the winning percentage my first year. It was tough, right? To be a sub 500 team, you're supposed to be the pride on ice, and there's a lot of weight on your shoulders. And at the time, you don't really know what to do, in all fairness. You're 18 to 20 years old. You don't have this like 25-year, 30-year history of understanding the moments and how that changes and how it can make you or break you. So I took that question to heart, and I just started writing down the little changes that we made that made a big difference. And it kind of turned into a creative writing assignment for me because I wanted to make sure I answered it, and I answered it honestly and efficiently. And it turned into like 2 pages of notes where I just started writing. And I really enjoyed it because I think it was beneficial. And one of the things I do is I work with the Gopher Hockey alumni, and I go in and I present to these young student athletes every single year. And I talk about what the Gopher Hockey Alumni Association can do for them while they're playing, when they're done playing, how we can help them. And so I do these presentations, and I just grabbed one of the slide decks that I'd used and just started bullet pointing it out to try to explain all the little things that we did, because there wasn't one thing. It was like 9 or 10 little things when you add them all up. But if I had to start, I would probably just say honesty. We were honest with ourselves. Like, this is what it is, and we're going to have to do what we do. So here, like, this is the first slide deck. And we always said in our locker room, what happens in this room matters, right? And if you're honest with yourself, you know that turnarounds don't start in the standings. They start in the room, like one by one. Like my first year below 500, I didn't look at that as a failure at the time. I probably did. But that was our foundational year. That was the year we figured out who we were going to be. And, you know, we have that amazing vision now when we're looking back to say, yeah, we know who we were, but vision always is better after time. And then if you go to the next slide, I put on there, progress isn't linear, but it has to be intentional. Like, losing sucks. There's no way of getting around it. Losing absolutely sucks, and you have to accept it for what it is. And, you know, we knew that year didn't look good on paper, but it told us who we were, and it told us who we weren't. And you can't skip that step, and you have to identify the standards first, and then you can try to start living up to them, right? So before those wins come, you have to have accountability. That has to show up. Roles have to be clear, and there has to be real buy-in from the locker room, from the players. And then if you go to the next slide, it'll so I'll just rip through all these slides.
Yeah, let's just go through it. Viggs, jump in if you have any thoughts while we're kind of going through this.
Well, I just do want to touch on one thing, like, before Nick keeps going, is that, you know, he's talking about this from the alumni standpoint of what can we do for you? And it's not just like alumni connecting people with jobs because they're alums. It's because they're honest. It's because they're accountable. It's because they are tied to a culture that allows them to be confident. It's like, these are things that apply to sport, but these are the things that apply to life. And successful people do these things. So I appreciate Nick adding his experience and history with this as part of this message, because, like, these things are so tied together. And if you want to be successful as an athlete or in life, these are crucial.
Yeah. And we have the collective mental horsepower and the collective experience of hundreds of alumni that these young student athletes can leverage. You know, whether it's they're having trouble in school, or they're having a personal issue with a girlfriend or their parents or their agent, there's no experience that these kids are going through right now that one of us has not went through personally. And they can lean on us. And that's one thing that we talk about. And this isn't the exact presentation I give, but it's pretty similar in that we're here for you guys. We all wore those numbers. Now, some of these younger guys have a lot higher numbers than we ever could have. But, you know, and I think it's in one of the later slides, I'll get to it, but I say, you don't own that number. You just rent it, and you rent that stall, and you carry that tradition with you every single time. And that goes to my point too, is culture before confidence. Like, when you're losing, your confidence is fragile, but the culture isn't, right? So if you establish that culture, you can kind of lean back on that. And, you know, we didn't get better because we suddenly believed we were great. We just got better because guys started showing up early. Details started to matter. Your work ethic became non-negotiable. Guys would call you out if you weren't given 100%. And the room, most importantly, the room became player-driven, not coach-driven. The players established the bar and the level and the standard. And there was nothing less than above that standard that was acceptable there. Losing seasons expose leadership. The best thing about our tough year is it showed us really who our leaders were, right? And it's not always the guy that's just running around patting you on the shin pads. It's the guys that work even harder, that stay invested, that raise those standards. And then when you find out who those leaders are, that really forms that that championship core.
And I think, I was talking to Bob Mosco today at Availability, and one of the things that is coming up is that, the confidence just isn't there for players right now as they're going through this, and they're kind of struggling through this, crucible of leadership. It's a tough time, and it's a hard time to hold each other accountable, and it's a hard time to be a team. And I think they're going through that because this isn't a team that's got really, really super strong upperclassmen leaders. So right now they're having to develop and push through that at this season.
Yeah, I see a lot of our 02 class in this team, right? When we came in 1998, it was tough. The program was having some tough times, and it allowed us to move into some roles that probably a lot of younger underclassmen hadn't gotten right off the bat. And you look at like who it produced, and you look at our very best players. I mean, hey, was Johnny Pohl an amazing player? Absolutely. But given, and same with Jordan Leopold, right? And you look at these guys and you say, well, these are guys that didn't just turn it on their senior year, right? They were given some amazing opportunities, and they took the most of those opportunities. They established a core and a culture and really took it to the next level and set that standard for everybody else. One of the things we stopped chasing outcomes, and we started chasing habits, right? So what's that mean? Instead of, we need to win, it became, we need to win the battles. We need to have good changes. We need to play defense first. We need to practice harder every single day, because the scoreboard always follows those habits once you've established them. And it just takes time. And we knew that. And, it's easier to say that when you're a freshman or sophomore and just say, hey, we're building something here. Well, how do you feel when you're a senior, right? Oh, we're really building. It's a rebuild year. Like that's difficult to get through.
Yeah.
But you understand that you're part of something bigger.
And I think one of the things that's challenging with college athletics right now is that when you have upperclassmen who are in that situation where it's not going well, there is that pull to think about what's next. Yeah. And there is that pull to think about talking to my agent, my player development person with my NHL team that has my rights. And it's a little bit of a distraction. And it's something I think a lot of college programs are struggling with right now, and how to get through that time period.
Yeah, absolutely. And every year was kind of was something new for us. I can only speak to my experience there 4 years. Year one was kind of about identity. We figured it out what it meant to be a Gopher and be that Gopher every single day. And it was tough, right? And then year two was more about the accountability side of things, where the standards became real. There was no more hiding. Everybody was going to be honest. And if you didn't do your job, guys were going to let you know in a real significant way. Year three was kind of about confidence, starting to feel good, knowing that, man, we should expect to win a little bit more here. And that's what happened. We weren't hoping to win. We were expecting to win. And then year four was all about belief, where we knew if we played our game, we'd done the foundational pieces, we'd worked our buns off in the summer. We had a great culture, and we knew if we went out and we played our hardest, we were going to be a damn tough team to beat. And then championship teams grow scars together. I mean, that first year was tough. And I'm so thankful that there was no social media. And, I mean, these guys have to deal with, think about like what these guys deal with all the crap that they take, where people can send messages directly to them, slide into their DMs. We never had to deal with that. And I think Mike Tyson had like an amazing quote talking about like social media, just saying, social media made you all way too comfortable with disrespecting somebody and not getting punched in the face.
Yes.
What these kids have to go through, it's completely different. And, are some of these kids taking some hits right now? Yeah, for sure. But, those championship teams grow scars together, and it builds resilience. It removes entitlement. It creates hunger, and it forces honesty. Because sometimes when you read those comments, and hey, back in the day, Gopher Puck Live, you guys had a lot of you had a lot of people that, threw a little shade, and I'm just glad there was kind of just maybe that one primary source of smack talk that I only had to look at. But, now these guys got Twitter and Instagram and whatever else. It's just a different vehicle. And if you use those scars, you're going to grow together, and you're going to find some honesty that maybe guys need.
I do think that there's got to be the leather jacket, as PJ Fleck calls it. It's like you've got to be able to take that noise. And I think you also have to realize, are you a lion that's going to listen to an ass, or are you a lion that only listens to lions? And can you ignore the asses out there that are trying to take shots at you because it's fun for them?
Yeah.
You don't want to go in the mud with the pig, because you're both going to get muddy and the pig's going to enjoy it. So you just have to rise above it.
I think it was one of my first games. Well, it was at least my first season, but I know there was a fan or heckling me, and somebody was yelling, "Angel, you suck, give back your scholarship." And I know my mom was ready to turn around and take a 5-minute major with a guy.
But also, the thing is, by your senior season, that wouldn't have bothered you at all. It is about growing too and being able to handle that type of.
Yeah. So the next side was just, hey, the ship isn't going to turn all at once, right? Even though you make that mental switch of like, okay, accountability, honesty, hard work, it doesn't happen right away. It just turns 1 degree at a time. And that just means better practice, tighter locker room, more consistent effort, cleaner details. And then once you do that, the outside world, and you start winning, people are going to start calling that like a turnaround. And that feels amazing, because all that hard work, you start seeing that and start hearing it. Even if you're not listening to it, you'll start hearing it. And that starts building that confidence. You don't flip the switch and start winning. I love Chad Roberg in there. I got to throw a little
Roby,
my fellow Duluth East guy, Rudy, Chad Roberg, amazing guy. But it turns degree by degree, and you have to just stack days. You have to stack habits. You have to stack accountability. And I know I've said accountability a couple of times, because it's so important. And like I said, it just comes from that room. And when you wake up and you realize you've done all the work necessary, then that switch is just going to turn on for itself.
I like that.
And then the appreciation of what you've got, right? I've got a couple of guys. We get to fly private a lot of times, but it feels great. But when you look back, and what I look back, and I wrote appreciation there, because our worst year, that first year, ended up being one of our most important years, because it taught us how to build something real, and everything that followed was a result of that work. And I always appreciated those guys that were sophomores, juniors, seniors, older guys, upperclassmen, that were part of it and never got to really appreciate all that work that we'd all put in together. And I said, never forget, we all just rent that jersey. It's about the foundation, not the shingles, right? That's one of our favorite lines that we talk about right now, is just renting that jersey in the locker room. And I think it kind of speaks for itself, right? Our year last year was all about the shingles, but there was 3 other years where we're putting up the walls and doing the foundation and drywall and wallpaper and all that. And then this one I think is really important, is championships have a roster, but they also have a lineage, right? Those guys that came before you, some will build that championship and others are going to lift the trophy. And both of those matter. So I'll say it again. Champions have a roster. They also have a lineage. Some are going to build it. Some are going to lift it. Both matter. So what I always tell the guys, and we say it in our Gopher Hockey alumni chats, is the work you're doing today is essential. Even if somebody else is going to lift that trophy, you have an obligation to yourself, to this community, to this state, to this organization, to raise the bar every single day and be accountable. And then I kind of end where we started. What starts in this locker room matters. In the end, guys can say, well, the coach didn't do this, or the equipment manager didn't do that, or my skate. In the end, it starts and ends in the locker room, and it's up to the guys to hold each other accountable.
Great stuff. That is a lot of great stuff. You know, I hope it would go for 365. Had his answers.
That's a long answer to a short tweet.
But I like getting in depth in things like that. Like, you know, how's it been done before? And then it gets people thinking, that's how it was done before. How could we do it now? How can we take this and adapt it to our situation? You just have to learn from people. You have to listen to people. It's from what it seems like, you know, you had a lot of personal accountability, but you also had a lot of teamwork. You know, I might be a great player, but I depend on that guy to back me up, my other guys. And that's how the team becomes a team.
You know, I'll tell you a story. The pregame skate before our national championship game, we had two guys get into a fight. In the pregame skate before the national championship game. One guy was on the power play, and he didn't want to stand in front and get hit in the ankles. And one of the PK defensemen was pissed because that guy wasn't standing in the front, and that was his job. And, you know, in the end, I think the forward understood what the D meant after they dropped the gloves, and the D understood what the forward meant, right? They both understood both sides of it, but that guy that didn't want to stand in front was Grant Patolny, who scored the game-winning goal in front of the net on the power play, or not in the power play, but in overtime. So it
wasn't over. It was on the power play.
Yeah, it was a power play. You know, so you think about, like, that's holding a guy accountable. That's not being an asshole. That's just saying, hey, little details matter. Do the right things. Do them in practice. Even do them in the pregame skate before the national championship game.
And Viggs, who made a career out in front of the net? Grant Patolny at Minnesota.
I mean, the details matter, and I really like Nick's part about the lineage and about the importance of guys, you know, who might not have the success in the present, but they're building something in the future. And also hearing the PK guy going after the power play guy who's, you know, has the glory role and the other guy maybe doesn't. And, you know, every team that's successful, I think there are guys that the fans don't look at as key players, but they help practice run. They make players better. They add to the competitiveness of a roster and a program for ice time, for praise, for whatever. And there's no days off in practice for a team that's successful. And so you need everybody to get going. And I just think that's so critical for team success.
Yeah, everybody brings something to the table, right? You know, some guys are more the meat and potatoes. Other guys are bringing the salad. But you can't have anybody that just brings a fork, right? Everybody brings something to the table. And I think what made our team successful as we got better was that there was an honesty about it and an accountability to it. And I'll use an example of my good friend Pat O'Leary. You know, Pat was 6'3", 210. I think he was a second or third round draft choice with Phoenix. So I probably dated myself a little bit. And, you know, on paper, he's a guy that should be first or second line. And he never got that opportunity. But I'll tell you what he didn't do. He didn't poison the locker room. He didn't bitch and complain. He got the nickname the bus captain. And it was a compliment because the guy showed up every single day when we were going to go on the road and made sure that, hey, did everybody bring their skates? Did you bring your extra pair of skates? Do you got your extra set of laundry in case we go on into overtime so you can change your shirt and have dry gear underneath? He made everybody better. He contributed every way he could. When he got out on the ice, he worked his ass off every single shift. But he earned the name the bus captain, and it was a compliment. It wasn't anything to make fun of him. And guys appreciated it from him. And you know what? He didn't show up on the score sheet, but he was one of the first guys out there. If you watch that goal when we score, he's one of the first guys off the bench, full speed, running into that pile, right? And as I didn't have it on the slide deck, but with the presentation that I give to the guys, I say, hey, be the bus captain. Everybody needs the bus captain. Don't poison the locker room. Be the guy that's working hard. Be the guy that accepts a role and just does it 100%.
Well said. Well said. Well, we got to keep moving forward here. And as part of that, we need to talk about one of our new sponsors, Vigs, Cascade CBX Sport.
Yeah, I just got off the ice with my team, and I had some aches and pains. So I turned to this little miracle that I got, the Cascade CBX Sport. The list of benefits using CBD is long. You can use it to knock out pain. You can use it to reduce inflammation. You can use it to sleep better. And one of the things about CBX Sport is that it's NSF certified for sport. So if you have young athletes who need a little pain relief, this is going to not show up as one of those 300 banned substances. So visit cascadecbxsport.com or, look for it around and trust the Shield to stay on the field.
All right. And of course, we thank Cascade CBX for being a sponsor of the GPL podcast. Vigel, let's take a quick look at your top 20 this week. Michigan's still at the top.
Yeah, and they're coming to town. I think the big thing with Michigan that everybody's working about now is their goalie's hurt. But the one thing you get with Michigan is a lot of talent. They are just outscoring any mistakes that they seem to make. They've got 4 losses on the year, all the quality teams, and they split in all those series. So you look at Michigan, they are a tough team. They swept Providence. They have the biggest quality win bonus in the MPI. Because they've played a tough schedule and have come out shining at the top of the rankings here.
Yeah, we'll definitely get more into them in a little bit here. Well, you probably do not like seeing Michigan at the top there, huh, Nick?
No, not at all.
Okay, well,
the last game I played against him, we beat him, so I don't really care.
That's good. Did you like that college hockey showcase back then? That just seemed like one of the best tournaments.
Yeah, I loved it. I love the WCHA. So that's probably the thing I'm the most nostalgically missing is the old WCHA. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, the Western Michigan, that's you like to see the Gophers at least in there.
You would like to see the Gophers, but they're not there. They're going to be there anytime soon. Vigs, North Dakota, Minnesota, Duluth being very strong. North Dakota's, I believe, 2nd or 3rd in the NPI right now. So those 2 teams are looking strong.
Yeah, I think we're still wondering how the MPI is going to shake out. It's different this year. If you look at past pairwise rankings at the end of the year, they were pretty close. But I think as we're seeing throughout this year, it's kind of up and down. We're still seeing Dartmouth in the top 10 of the MPI. I don't think that's going to hold. We're seeing a lot of ECAC teams, I think 4 in the top 20. I have a hard time seeing that holding up as well. But you look at these top, 7 teams here, they all kind of are separating themselves from the rest. I think once you get past Penn State, anyone in this group is gonna make it in MPI, and they're all threats to make the tournament. I think there's probably a couple teams outside this 20 that are still threats as well.
Augustana still getting stronger, Vigs, just a little bit each week.
Yeah, they just swept Northern Michigan. That's probably not, something that's going to help them, but, they didn't fall in the trap, as some people say when you play a weekend like that. So Garrett Boyne's doing some good things there.
Any other thoughts in the rest of your list there, Vigs?
I've got Arizona State back in here. They're looking strong in the MPI. They've had a couple good weekends here. They had the overtime loss to Miami, and the MPI overtime losses don't hurt you that much. It's 0.4 of a win, and then the win against Miami, who's had a surprising year so far. We got St. Thomas and Minnesota State kind of on the fringe of this top 20. Is CCHA going to get 2 teams? They need those 2 teams to pull away from the pack. And they just played each other, so you can't pull away when you have that going on. Someone's got to lose.
Well, this afternoon, Vigs, we had an announcement. The portal this year is going to start later. It's going to start the Monday after the national championship game. So it's going to be April 13th. It's going to last 15 days, which is shorter than I think the 45 days but we had before. It's going to run through the 28th of April. What are one thing I like it that it's after the national championship game, so there's not that whole 2 weeks where it's just crazy. And some teams are going to the Frozen Four, and other teams are picking up players. So I do like that it's after, but quite the decision today.
Yeah, I think one of the things with the NCAA is they're trying to have more hockey people make hockey decisions. No longer are these decisions being made by non-hockey folks. They have their own committee that's kind of putting these rules forth. Mm-hmm. And this one makes a lot of sense for college hockey. Now, don't be naive. There are going to be players that are going to find homes before, April 13th. Mm-hmm. The agents are going to do their due diligence behind the scenes. I'm sure coaches talk to coaches and people will find homes. But I think, nothing can be official until the 13th, which I think is good overall for most teams.
Well, I see Richard Babs from Facebook posting this. What about the Golden Helmet NIL program? What's going on with that? Well, with talking with you, Nick, and talking with Eric Brever, who's watching tonight as well, it has just become utter chaos, and just starting up and getting going now is really a lot more complex than it used to be.
Yeah, it is. And in all fairness, the most important thing for any collective or any organization that works with a young student athlete with NIL is that you understand the rules and that you don't jeopardize these kids' eligibility. And right now, so much is up in the air. And, this isn't Eric or I talking. You can read about it with the collectives. It's more in the football and basketball area because that's really kind of where a lot of the big money is. And many of the collectives have kind of bypassed NIL Go, which is the NCAA's clearinghouse for all deals. So every student athlete that has an NIL deal over $600 has to submit that to NIL Go. And that is run through, I believe, PwC. In any case, what we've heard and what we've seen, and we have spoken to the University of Minnesota, is that a lot of these collectives have taken in money and they're having a hard time getting their activations approved. They're not getting denied. They're just not getting approved. So they do show all of their approved deals and all of their denied deals. And, the approval has a big number. It's 127 million or something crazy the last time I looked. And then there was like 20 million of deals that weren't approved. But they're not talking about the deals that just are kind of sitting in limbo. And that's what we've heard through a lot of collectives is the approval process is just not really happening. And there's some big money collectives out there that have just kind of bypassed it and said, we're just going to pay the kids. So, that can definitely be problematic.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's anything we would want to do. And so as this year kind of went on, we made the decision to say, okay, let's just press pause right now. Let's let a lot of these football and basketball collectives work this out and see how it shakes out. And we're probably getting to a stage right now where we need to revisit and say, okay, what are we going to do? How is this going to work? How do we work with the university? How do we work with the student athletes? Because right now, the NCAA would much prefer these students to go out and get their own deals directly, right? Work with a car dealership, work with a grocery store. But these guys are student athletes. They have a full-time job, which is school and an athletic career. They're not out there going to the Cub Foods and the Luther car dealerships, right? So it's kind of an interesting place right now. And, if you look, even Dinkytown athletes, I know we've had some conversations with them. I think one of the last conversations Eric Brever and I were on was with the legal counsel from the athletic department, just talking about the different landscape and all the questions that we had. And I would rather be a day late and do it right than a day early and do it wrong. So that's kind of where we sit right now. We would love to launch it. And I think if we launched it tomorrow, we would collect significant amounts of money through memberships and sale of different opportunities and engagements. But if you can't fulfill those engagements, there's no point in taking in the money, because we don't want to be in a place where we've made all these promises. Yes, hey, you're going to get you X, Y, and Z for your membership, but now we can't actually get those deals approved, and we can't fulfill our obligation to the supporters and the fans. So right now we're still kind of just watching and letting it play out, because we don't want to put anybody's athletic career in jeopardy. And I think most fans, when they hear that, say, yeah, let's just wait a second. And, you know, certainly there's some other programs out there that are, we'll just say, a little more advanced right now, not through technology or willpower or anything like that, but, you know, especially in the football and basketball arena. Hockey is, you know, everybody talks a lot about the $700,000 that's rumored from Penn State for McKenna, right? I don't know if that's true. I've never seen it in writing. It's a lot of rumor and conjecture, but we'll see how it plays out. We're actively pursuing it. I get emails from Eric or texts at least a couple times a week, just with different updates about the landscape. And it's something we would love to do, but we want to make sure we do it right. And like I said, we don't want to jeopardize anybody's eligibility, especially with how flexible, we could say, things have, are moving.
Viggs, one frustration I've just always had is I think the university could be doing so much more for themselves. Watching the games on Big Ten Network this weekend, you know, they pan the crown, they go over to the side, you see the big Penn State hockey shop, and you see all these jerseys hanging up, and you can see players' names on jerseys they're selling. And this is Minnesota. We should have figured that out 10 years ago.
You would think Minnesota would have figured that out. I do know that their deal with Fanatics is holding back a lot of apparel potential for Minnesota, and they just kind of negotiated themselves into that for some stuff. I do think the authentic jerseys are out there as an option. I think the university is a little hesitant to invest in inventory. You know, you are able to order, you know, the $500 game authentic style jersey. I think a lot of fans have sticker shock, but that is what the North Dakota fans are buying as well. You know, they are getting those expensive CCM jerseys. You know, in the NHL shops, those jerseys are expensive. That's what's out there. So it's just something that's not going easy for Minnesota. What I'm interested in, Nick, a little bit about the NIL Go is what kind of are the deals that are being approved? What kinds of activations are, you know, kosher right now and people could pursue?
As far as like the dollar amounts, or the type of deals that are being done, as far as
both, if you're willing to share your experience and what the marketplace is like right now.
Yeah, I mean, the marketplace, it's a little unique, right? That, and what we've heard, because we're not currently active in the marketplace, so everything is a little conjecture, and what we've heard is that a deal that is proposed by a student athlete in, let's say, a car dealership or a bank or wherever, right, a private entity, that does the deal directly with the student and submits it, that usually gets approved pretty quickly and with a fairly high degree of success. That same deal put through a collective, from what we've heard, is not getting approved, but it's also not getting declined.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at. And it's different for different sports. I don't have any insight into, for example, what Dinkytown athletes might be doing with some of the student athletes. I know the last time I looked on Twitter, I think I saw Grubo was on there a month ago. I think that was the last time I'd seen a highlight from hockey there. Most of it was football, basketball, and I think some volleyball. But I don't know how all the deals are structured, because we haven't had anything approved and we haven't had anything declined, but we haven't had anything submitted either. So
Viggs, one thing I think is, like, you look at somebody like a Gruba, he came in already ready to go. Before he even started at Minnesota, he had some deals going. We had, Dan Wu gone right before the break, and he had what, a Gruba's hats. He had something going before he even came to Minnesota, but that's kind of that. It's his own deal though, too. He wasn't going through these big other areas.
Yeah, it certainly feels like some of the athletes, whether their advisors are helping them find this stuff, there's apparel deals or local Dinkytown restaurants that have been partnering, or other kind of brands that partner with players. I've seen the PNC Bank Assist of the Week for Minnesota hockey. That's one thing I've seen, but I'm guessing that's more of a program partnership than Dinkytown athletes or, NIL type partnership. But I'm just wondering what kinds of things are going to go out there. Cub Foods has been pretty upfront about, the NIL deals with some of the football players who are coming back. We'll see what that looks like and how that approval process goes. But that's one Minnesota company that's putting their name out there.
But I would also add that our foray into NIL, I've spoken to a couple other college coaches that I've known and played with, and they have collectives that have significant amounts of money that they've raised, and they just can't get the activations. And they're kind of wondering, how do we get this money off the books? Are we able to donate it to the athletic department, and then they can use it as part of their $20.5 million, which probably wouldn't be an option for us because we've already had our $20.5 million allocated. But if you have like a smaller school, right, that doesn't have a robust football, basketball program, let's say North Dakota or St. Cloud State, Mankato, UMD, wherever, if a collective had, let's say $400,000, say, okay, well, we're not getting really much approved through NIL Go. Why don't we just give it to the athletic department, and then they can pay part of that almost more as salary without the activations. So, but then you're getting in kind of some tax legalities as well. And I'm not a CPA, so I won't even venture down that role. But what we're experiencing is not unique. And especially within hockey, there are very, very few organizations that have this all figured out. And as much as we would love to be that trendsetter, again, eligibility is important. And that would be the worst thing ever if we cost some kid their eligibility.
Mm-hmm. Definitely would. Well, we're going to have to keep moving here. One of those local companies you just spoke about, Viggs, Cub Foods. Well, they sponsor this podcast.
Yeah, Cub Foods. They've just got their hands in things. Gopher Athletics. They sponsor our podcasts. They're on PJ Flex headset. They've been a partner in these NIL deals that bring back guys like Jackson Howard and Javon Tracy and Darius Taylor. They're involved and they support us, and you should support them too. If you're turning over the new year and you're going sober, they've got a bunch of NA things that you can get. If you're going Buffalo sober, you can get beer, wine, and some of the lighter alcohols. If you're going California sober, you can get the THC things. Or if you're just looking for some food for your holiday parties, especially Super Bowl coming up, maybe you want to start testing some recipes that you're going to bring out for your group. Cub is going to have everything you need. They're going to have great inventory, great service, stores all over the metro. They deliver. You can order online and pick up. And I always enjoy going to my Quarry Cub. So shop happy, shop Cub.
All right, let's get into this weekend, guys. Big bad Michigan coming to town, Viggs. The only good news is Ivankovic. How do we say his name? Ivankovic?
I think it's Ivankovic. He did very well for Canada. He's played pretty much every minute except for the ones he didn't play this last weekend for Michigan. And, a lot of people nationally have been talking about Michigan. It's like, well, they have a goalie. This is a team that struggled at times. They didn't appreciate Jack LaFontaine when he was there. They've been looking for goalie for a while. They finally have one. He gets run over, knee injury. Danny Nelson toe-picked into him. I don't think it was intentional. It wasn't like a run the goalie situation. But they have a goalie that hasn't played very much for them. And you have a coach who just signed an extension, who made that decision and has maybe put his team a little bit at risk here in the second half as they figure out what they have and if they need to go and add another goalie mid-season.
Well, then they run into roster issues, don't they, Viggs?
Every team seems to be able to get around that this year. There's players who could be grandfathered in to that roster limit. So as much as people think there's a hard cap of 26, there have been ways for schools to get around that. Because if you remember when they put this cap in, they grandfathered in returning players because there are a lot of coaches who said, hey, I can't cut these kids, if you put in this new cap. So there are some rules. As we've talked about with Nick and Dinkytown Athletes and Golden Helmet Collective, Minnesota plays it by the books. Like they are rule followers. They're not going to go on the edge and risk, penalties from the NCAA. Other schools, Michigan does not follow the rules, as we've seen in lots of NCAA legislation around them the last couple of years with their football program and athletic department in general. So I think, if they were looking to add someone to compete with Stephen Peck in the second half, we've seen teams go and grab goalies from the ECHL, guys who played major junior, turned pro. ECHL maybe hasn't been very fun for them. They're not getting a lot of playing time. Maybe Michigan's a landing spot for them for the second half. The second semester hasn't started yet, so they could add someone.
Now, Nick, we're not going to feel sorry for Michigan losing their one goalie, but as a team who's number one in the nation, playing extremely well so far, outscoring their opponents, that's a scary prospect for them. I mean, imagine you guys losing Adam Hauser in January of 2002.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an old school guy, so I say, hey, we got a guy that played one game and he's got an 85% save percentage. Run him over. I'm old school, right? That you can't do that now. I totally get it. But hey, Nick, here's the deal. You got like 6 points all year, and you're probably going to get suspended, but drive that guy through the Zamboni doors on your way through the net. That would be but I'm old school. You can't do it. I understand now. Random factoid, John Whipple's brother, Alec, who is at Denver, I think he suited up last year for Denver in goal. Like they didn't have any goalies, so he was the backup out there. There was I didn't know if Viggs, I thought you might know that.
I think we talked about it.
I think I heard about that. I heard about that. Yeah. He was their e-bug.
Yeah. But no, if I'm Bob right now and we're talking about that, hey, they've got a really good goalie, might be injured. We're going to have a new kid in the net. I think you pepper that. You're shooting from everywhere. Lots of tips, lots of screens, lots of traffic in front. That's their Achilles heel, I guess, right now until they prove that it isn't.
And here's the thing. I think with a goalie like that, I think you tell your team, let's hold on to pucks. We don't need to take, chances where we're not going to have traffic at net. Make sure we have pressure at the net when we put pucks there. Don't just give him easy touches, where there's no traffic. He can see it. Don't let him get comfortable. Make him uncomfortable. Put him in those situations where there's pucks at his feet with traffic, and having to worry about rebounds.
Yeah, you need the old Eric Wendell. Eric loved to just drive wide, and he would shoot that puck right at the guy's toes every single time. And he scored, I'm going to say, half his goals from the side of the net. He loved to rifle that thing in there. And I mean, talk about a confidence killer for you. So I don't know if we got any Eric Wendell types on the team currently right now, but
I don't know if we have enough guys who shoot low either, Nick. I mean, a lot of times these guys are going upper corner, it misses, goes around, comes out the other side. I would really love to see a lot more dirty goals. Shots in the goalie skates, get the rebounds. It's when you're just completely missing a net and just taking opportunities away from yourself that's hurt them for quite a few years.
Absolutely. Guys like the pretty goals. Actually, on that slide deck, the one where I have Matt Kowalska jumping into the box after he scored the tying goal, that original slide is called Celebrate with Your Team, where I said, hey, listen, I understand everybody wants their a couple minutes of fame, and I tell the story about Matt Kowalska scoring that goal. He's a tough kid from South St. Paul, Polish kid, had a big blue truck with dual exhaust. Then on the back, it said Polish Pride. And Matt was out there to score that goal because we needed a kid that was going to score a greasy goal. And when he did, he didn't go and celebrate with all his buddies. He didn't go top corner. He didn't go try to skate away to have his moment of fame. He went head first into his team because that's the way we celebrated. So I think the game's changed, but I think these guys could still score some greasy goals, and if they do, I'd love to see them go head first into the box and celebrate with the team.
Well, I do think we've seen Beckett Hendrickson, Javon Moore, make strides in being that player who drives the net, takes the center of the ice, and really puts pressure on the other team. I think we've seen some of that from Tate Pritchard. I'm looking for a little bit more. I think if August Falloon is going to make an impact for this program, he's got to figure out how can I, be a mean player out there and insert myself in the game. Because when you look at the Gopher roster, there are some big bodies. And I think, Hendrickson and Moore are two that are starting to flash a little bit. I would like to see Brody Lamb get back to some of his roots of getting to the net and creating that traffic. Because as a Gopher player, I feel like he had some of his most success capitalizing on plays around the net off of chaos. And I think that's a good game plan for him.
Yeah, I think.
And I was just going to say that, we talked about it a little bit last week, Viggs, and Nick, you can talk to this too. It's time for the freshmen to become sophomores, in January.
Yeah. And one guy you just mentioned him, Javon Moore. First couple games, I thought, okay, I've heard a lot about this kid. I wasn't really seeing it. In the last couple of games, I feel like he has really started to not take over the game, but at least feel comfortable out there and starting to, you can see that he's looking to make plays versus just going out there and trying not to make mistakes. Right. And, so he's 21 games in right now, and he's getting a lot of ice time, and he's starting to make plays, which is the right step you want to see. And I've been very impressed with his progression over the last 10 or 15 games. It's been awesome to see. And we need more of that across the board, right? There's a lot of guys, but it's always hard to, put a lot of pressure on the freshmen. Be like, hey, freshman guys, you got to do more. And hey, Brody Zemer, you're leading our team, but geez, we need you more. It's tough, right? Especially for these young guys, but big players rise to the occasion. You look at Johnny Pohl and Jordan Leopold, guys that led our team. They were put in big situations at a young age, and they rose to the occasion, and they stayed around long enough to really make it matter.
And I do think Mo Townsend looked impactful at times on Saturday. That's a group where I think they got put together so they could stop deferring to other players and start, playing with each other and just playing what's in front of them. I think that was a smart move by the coaching staff, and I'll be interested to see if that group can stick together going forward against Michigan.
Yeah, I'll be there on Friday night, so we're gonna see what happens. So,
and that's what's interesting, Viggs. This weekend could be a huge thing. It could be a devastating thing. You get swept. I mean, just think about it. The last time Michigan was at Mariucci, they got blanked out of the building, Viggs. They didn't score a goal all weekend.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting weekend for Minnesota, big picture wise, because one of the things I heard out of Motzko today at availability was saying, we got to be patient with this team. I got to use the feather, not the 2x4. I feel good about this team. I like these guys. And he's saying, if I didn't like these guys, I would be trying to hide it some other way, but I do. And he said, we got to stay positive. But I also hear him saying, we need to be a tough team to play against in the playoffs. And I think he means the Big Ten playoffs. So I think he's kind of seeing the picture here. It's like, they're not going to be able to turn on a switch, like Nick was saying, and all of a sudden start winning. It's a progress with this group. And if the results come, the results come. But this weekend, you just hope to see those little details of their game start to come together. And I don't think this is a team that can outscore their mistakes. So it's going to be a learning process for them.
All right, Nick, what is your prediction this weekend? How many points for Minnesota?
I would love if they can take a game. I think it would be huge for the confidence. I mean, I'd love if they take 2 games, right? But no, but I think you have to take those little steps, right? And I think spending enough time with some of the guys, talking with them, they give me a call every once in a while. I think they're starting to set that standard, and it's getting set by the players themselves. And yeah, last weekend was tough, but I think it's a pretty good team that, I think most people probably wanted more out of this year, and there's probably more capacity to have a little bit of an upset. And I think this could be an interesting season or series that sets up the rest of the season. Is this going to be a team that can go and play really tough competition and take a game from them? Or is this going to be, hey, we've got 14 games left and 10 of them are against top 10, top 15 teams, and we're just looking to win 2 or 3 of those? So I would love to say, hey, let's take the first game. And once you take the first game, then the next game's up for grabs too, right? So I'm just hoping they take that first game, because it's a lot easier to go into that second game with one in the hand.
Plus, you're there Friday night.
and I'm there Friday night. And I will say, actually, I remember this when we had our goals from our O2 team. One of the goals that we said is we will never lose 2 games in a row. And I think we fulfilled that goal, that we never lost 2 games in a row throughout the whole year. And, being mentally, not just physically tough, but mentally tough, and saying, all right, we lost 1, let's go. And, hopefully the boys are in the locker room tonight or after the last weekend's game saying, hey, we lost 2. We probably got a little left in the tank. Let's empty the tank on Friday so we can look ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, we left everything out on the ice this weekend. We got nothing to hang our head about, and we're building every single day.
All right, Viggs, give me your thoughts.
Oh, this is a tough one. Like this weekend, like the way offense has gone for the Gophers this season, it's been a challenge. And I think they just have to commit to a little bit different style of play this year. They don't have a team that's going to be able to score on the rush all the time, because they just have a hard time really getting in transition where they can outnumber the opponent. That's when you're going to have success on the rush. So they're not getting those chances. And I see a lack of puck protection time, riding time, as you say. When you're in the offensive zone and you're holding on to the puck and you're creating space for your teammates, and you have defensemen coming down from the line to join the play and create 2-on-1 type situations. I'm not seeing that this year. So I worry that this is going to be a 0-point weekend for Minnesota, and that's what I have coming.
Actually, that's what I was thinking too. I was so positive last week with 4. But man, that Friday effort, Viggs, it really brought me down.
I mean, I get it, 0, but I'm kind of there too. But there's a big, Gopher. I mean, hey, if they don't win,
Gopher
Friday
in you
night,
that says, "Come on, let's go."
Yeah, I mean, you know what? And if they don't win Friday night, it's not like I'm going to have to call my doctor and say, "Hey, put me on some Zoloft here." Like it's let's get some more Xanax for Nick here. That's not what I'm going to do. But I do think that this team does have the capacity to throw an upset out there. And if they do upset one of these top teams, I think it can be a catalyst for something really interesting.
I'll have to see.
I just need this team to prove me wrong and play a little bit different, because I don't think they're going to get enough chances against Michigan where they're just going to be outscoring them. And I think Michigan's a team that's going to put up 3 or 4. So is this a Gopher team that can, steal a game with goaltending? I haven't seen that yet. Is this a team that's going to be able to score 5 or 6? We haven't seen that very much this year either. I know that the penalty kill has been an issue. They killed off 4 against Penn State and kept McKenna off the special teams scoreboard. They're going to have a bigger challenge this week against Michigan. So I just think this is a tough matchup for them. The silver lining is they are playing a green goalie, but they have to have the discipline to their game to make that a factor. And I just haven't seen that kind of style of play from them yet. And I'm hoping I do. I'm hoping I do get to see it.
Did you see the pass that McKenna made between his legs to send the guy on a breakaway? I don't think they really highlighted it on TV. It was disgusting.
He's got some disgusting to his game, which is good. That's why he's a potential top pick.
I didn't even watch the breakaway. Look at this pass. It's great. I wouldn't even do that in boot hockey. So
Boy, as we're going through making our picks, all I was thinking about was Mote was going to give us a hard time, Viggs. And of course, this is a Gopher podcast. Delusional homer takes are accepted.
You know who we're going to get that from? Pat Micheletti. So if you're listening to the radio call this weekend, you will get the homer takes. You know, he gave 3 stars of the game all the Gophers.
He'll be on
Saturday.
TV all weekend, actually.
Yeah,
it's Channel 9, so
that's right. So
it's gonna be
time.
one of. Maybe they should have you on the radio broadcast there, Viggs or Nick.
Nick can swing by from his suite.
Oh no, he was in a suite a while ago. I don't think you're in a suite this weekend.
I kind of want to get one now just to prove you wrong. But I'll take a picture of you from way up down. Yeah. No, I mean, I've got great seats. I've said this before. I said, listen, I used to have to run those stairs, so I will never go down those damn stairs again. So I am top row right on the red line. So I actually I have 6 seats. 4 are mine. 2 are for Brody Zemer's grandparents, who know my parents pretty well. And the parents don't always get the best seats kind of in the corner, and they wanted to make sure they got some good seats, and they didn't have any seniority. So I said, hey, I can probably add 2 tickets to mine. So I
look at that.
But I'm keeping the Gopher points for sure, and the parking passes. So.
Well, hopefully the team proves us wrong. We want them to prove us wrong, Viggs. So
it's an opportunity for growth. I'm looking for D who can walk the blue line and get pucks to the net, especially this week. Luke Middlestat is one of those D who's shown the ability to do that. He needs help. They need more guys who can create those shooting lanes and get pucks into dangerous spots so those big bodies can make an impact in this game. You've seen a couple weekends now where the Gopher defensemen are putting them off the end boards because that's the only way they're able to get pucks down from the point. They need a little bit more than that this weekend.
Well, thanks for coming on, Nick. It's great to have you on again.
I was happy to come on. It's always fun to relive the past and look forward to the future here.
Yeah, it definitely is. So maybe look for him at the arena this weekend. Say hi to Nick. He'll say hi to you.
I'll be there with my twin 7-year-olds.
There you go.
We've almost got to make it through a whole game right now. I just give them as much candy as whatever they want. It's like, here, sugar yourself. Dad's gonna watch the game. And
I've caught you going to the candy area.
Oh yeah. Their favorite part of the game is actually going to the alumni room, which is right next to the shooting area. So we go into the shooting area and those kids just shoot pucks. They think that's like the best part. It's the most expensive shooting training I've ever paid for. So.
Well, definitely thanks for coming on. I hope you're ready for some overtime here. So we're going to move right to that. Viggs, do you have any last words?
Threw them in there already.
All right. I think we're good. That's going to do it for this episode of the GPL podcast. We don't want to have Viggs up on the screen. We're going to have me up on the screen. There we go. We'll be back next week for our 300th episode of the GPL podcast with none other than Pat Micheletti. For those of you watching live, stay tuned for overtime on YouTube and X. For the rest, you will catch you next week on the GPL podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and get notified each time we go live or post a video. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate our show and leave a review. For those of you watching live, you know what's next. It's Vigo's Beverage of the Week. It's time for overtime. Your drinks get darker and darker, Vigs. What do you have
This one is pretty dark. This is I had a hockey tournament down in Austin, Minnesota, which is almost in Iowa. So I got this Toppling Goliath Turmoil. It's a vanilla bean barrel aged stout. It's a big guy. See if I can find it quick enough. 14.5.
Whoa.
So cheers, everyone.
Wow.
That beer is coagulated.
Yeah, that thing looked like molasses.
This is one of the thickest stouts I've ever had. Like it's just like it is it's got a high gravity to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the viscosity of that beer was if they measure it, but that thing wasn't even like sloshing around. It was like kind of just straight pouring in like oil.
It's called Turmoil. So delicious. This is an expensive beer, but I figured I'll do it for the podcast. So
well, we love that, Vigs. Tell us how busy you've been, Vigs. I mean, my goodness, you covered the World Junior Tournament. You've had crazy hockey schedule with your kids. It's been crazy for you lately, hasn't it?
I love hockey, so I find myself in a rink pretty much every night somehow, and I'm loving it. I'm diving a little bit more into video with my teams this year, and been on the live barn and pulling clips, and it's been fun. You know, my kid's a second-year Pee-wee, so he's starting to have, you know, stuff where you can dive in like that. They get it. Whereas, you know, my 10U, it's still like fun and development. Let's figure out ways to make drills as fun as we can and keep the kids moving. I have to really, you know, push myself to say, you know, 20 seconds of talking, 20 minutes of activity. You know, try to do that as much as you can and make sure that it's fun. So, but it's great. The World Juniors, I wish the U.S. played a little bit better. But injuries, man.
Injuries,
can be an excuse, but
we just kind of we saw it coming. We saw even before they did summer. I was probably going to be a down year, and it ended up being a down year, Vigs.
Yep. Downtown.
I'm just biting my lip. I'm not going to say anything.
Oh, really?
I will say there was a party in the Angell household because I have, with our twin 7-year-olds, I have an au pair. It sounds really bougie, but it's like cheaper.
It does.
Yeah, it's cheaper than daycare. So we have a Swedish au pair, and like she actually made it on TV, and like her parents saw her on.
Really?
Yeah, like back in Sweden. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, she was there with a bunch of the other Swedish au pairs. I call them the Swoop, the Swedish group. I was like, "What's the Swoop doing today?" So yeah, they were singing and dancing.
They've only won for the second time in like 40 or 50 years.
Yeah.
It must have been the Swoop.
I think, yeah, it could have been.
That's what pushed them over the top. I mean, you don't get that in Canada, probably.
No.
So. I thought the Swedes were good. So the Swedes actually played a possession game, and they just dominated play a lot of times. So kudos to them.
Random fact, the backup goalie, Herman Lev, I played with his dad actually in Sweden in HV71 or HV71, as they say. But I played with his dad for a year, and then we played against each other in Russia. And then tragically, he was killed in that plane crash that killed all of Lokomotiv Yaroslavl. But it was great to connect with his wife, Anna, who I hadn't seen in 10 or 15 years. And we just kind of picked it all up. And it's funny because Herman is a spitting image of his dad. It kind of like made me emotional when I was just going through the program and you're looking at the kids' pictures and like, that's Stefan. So
funny overtime note on him. At the World Junior Summer Showcase, we were doing like post-game stuff down in like locker room areas.
Yeah.
And he is just walking around in his underwear, talking on the phone for legit 15 minutes, just wandering the concourse of like Mariucci.
Sounds like his dad.
Just like, yeah, I'm super confident here, and you know, I'm just gonna walk around and talk on the phone loudly.
What was he saying?
He was in Swedish, so I didn't pick up. Vernon,
bork, right?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But good Swedes.
So what's this new job? You have a new
It's the same sport just different jersey. So
you were traded.
Yeah.
You went in the transfer portal and you got some more NIL.
Yeah, I did. I
That's
just said, hey, I need a little more playing time, and what's the NIL status? I'd love to know what you got.
That 15-day window of VIGs is crazy.
It's going to be intense. I'm sure there's going to be some deals made ahead of time, but I think it's good to keep it short, honestly.
Yeah.
There's so much back and forth with all these moves. I don't think speeding it up is going to hurt anything. I think we've seen the last couple of years that most deals happen right away.
Mm-hmm. I am glad it waits till after hockey is done, though, at least. Yeah, there's going to be the backroom deals, whatever, but we'll have to see. And remember, we keep a pretty updated list on GPL, so we get a ton of traffic, people coming to look at our portal list VIGs.
It's good to have an insider connected with us. So
do you give a lot of tips then, or how do you get the intel? I mean, you don't have to tell me who, but what's the secret
person
sauce?
who has access to the actual list.
Okay.
So I think any NCAA coach has access to any sport.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how a lot of this stuff gets out there. Is like, it's not somebody who's a hockey insider or an assistant coach on some prominent program. It's, someone who coaches NCAA sports and has a login. So
great. Barbie's giving me a hard time about sounding like the chef on the Muppets.
Who is saying that?
My significant other is upstairs, probably watching us on the big screen TV.
AKA his roommate.
My roommate.
Roommate.
She spent like a year a year in Denmark after she graduated from high school. So she likes those Scandinavians.
But we can speak Swedish together if you want. I actually spoke with Paulson. When was this freshman year? Was it a year or 2 years ago? Yeah, last year. And he was injured, and I had my kids down on the bench just to kind of like watch warm-ups and give the guys knuckles as they're coming off the ice. And I knew he was Swedish, and I just went up and started speaking with him. And I think I kind of threw him for a loop. I don't think he was expecting that. And my grammatics I'll mess up, but my accent's really clean. Most people can't tell that I'm not Swedish, but I do have, I say like me want instead of I want or something. So I'll make some simple grammatical error, but my accent's good. But he's from like the southern part of Sweden, and it's really unique. It's kind of like talking to a Cajun guy, right? Where it's just kind of a weird, like water boy or something. It's water boy. It's really like a very specific accent in Sweden.
Wow.
Yeah, I took a little Norwegian. Jeg heter Viggo. Jeg er fra Minnesota. Jeg liker spille ishockey. Jeg liker drikke øl.
You like to drink some beer too? Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to give my interviews in Swedish. I just felt like it was disrespectful to live in a country and not try to pick up the language.
Yeah.
So I took Swedish for immigrants when I was there, and then I played there enough. And there actually weren't that many import players when I first went over there. There's only like 2 or 3 in the league, and now it's 4 or 5 per team. But if you go to Germany, it's 10 per team. But when I was in Sweden, it was just 1 or 2 in the whole league. And now the coaches will speak English on the ice, but back then it was just Swedish. So you kind of had to figure it out. So
yeah, that's cool. No Duolingo for you back then, so you had to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would do some interviews, and I remember I did make one little mistake. They'd asked me, and I was pretty tired after a game, and it was in between the second and third, and I was doing the interview in Swedish, and I made a small grammatical error. They'd said, "Hey, how are you feeling? Are you pretty tired?" And I meant to say, "Yeah, I have some lactic acid in my legs, but I just I kind of want to just get back to the locker room and rest before the third period." And lactic acid is called mjölksyra, like milk sour in your legs. And instead I said kolsyra, which means carbonation. So I said I have carbonation in my legs instead of lactic acid. Similar word in Swedish. And I corrected myself immediately and said, no, I have mjölksyra, the lactic acid. And the guy like switched. Oh no, he was kind of making fun of me and just said, well, how do you get carbonation in your legs? And I switched immediately back to English, and I said, I was like, hey, Hoken, I've heard you speak English and you effing suck. So I dropped the F bomb. I dropped the F bomb on like live national TV.
Where is video of this?
You're trying really hard. Like,
yeah, I'm trying to be respectful,
best.
And you're making fun of my Swedish on national TV. Plus, I really want to go back into the locker room and just relax. So yeah, and in Europe, they usually have outside the gas stations, they have like the big headlines are always kind of on this big board that they'll just post up there. And it said the next day when I went to the gas station to pick up the newspaper, it said Angell drops F-bomb on live TV. It was like the big thing. So Hoken, I remember it, really well. So I've tried to find that headline.
Oh.
I haven't found it.
It'd be great to find that clip. I mean,
it would,
honestly,
it's once we get to the YouTube age, it's much easier to find things. But anything before
great
YouTube,
for like a Let's Get Weird post is to have carbonation in your legs.
Yeah. I just sent you guys a little clip, by the way. You can't post it on the site, but I did send you guys a little clip. Let me know what you guys think.
Thank you. It looks like Vigo to me.
Yeah, you should take a look at the video.
Wow. Where did
Vigo likes to get weird, I guess. I don't know.
That's good. You can't tell it's fake.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Brock is out of control right now. Brock is like when I got the old Nintendo, the old NES, we had to blow on the game, like where I would wake up early just to play the game. I
had to shut off the screen because it was just stuck on the end there. That was
I love just sending that to you and being able to watch your live reaction. I wish the fans at home could see. It was just Vigo drinking a beer. I grabbed a video off the internet and had some fun with it. With Brock.
Yeah. So the AI is scary.
It's insane. You kind of have to ask yourself, is this real?
You should be careful taking off your jacket there, Jupe. You never know what's going to happen now.
I just don't care.
Never know what's next.
Jupe was almost crying when he saw it.
Oh, jeez, that was. I'm like, what's happening? Oh, jeez. Well, AI is getting scary. Almost everything on the internet now is, but I've been using AI for programming, and it's been amazing.
Yeah,
to do just things I've never been able to do on GPL.
But you can do anything you want. Like I was talking to Nick Michael the other day, and I just sent him I grabbed a clip I took a picture of Bob Motzko, and I just had him say during an interview, Nick Michael is one of the most talented players I've ever had, or something. Like you can have him say whatever you want, and it was a little off on his voice, and I didn't give it 1,000 prompts to correct it, but it's crazy what you can do. It is absolutely wild. So.
And you got me to cry on the air. Jeez, that was.
Hey, I mean, I know you're gonna have another 26 for the 300th episode, but I got to be a little memorable here then. So.
Wow.
You got to get Van to come out for since you've had an old 26 and a way better 26 with Micheletti, and then have a really good 26 with Vanek. So.
We get sponsored by Stilly.
He helps us out with our Gopher Hockey Alumni Tournament, and I know there's a couple guys that are having a couple libations at that tournament thanks to Stilly. If it's free, guys are gonna. Guys think they're still on scholarship,
Well, they are on scholarship for one day.
Yeah, no, it's one day. It's funny. I mean, for our alumni thing, we charge. I think it's $175, and you get round of golf, lunch, dinner, drinks, bunch of cool swag, and guys are still like hammering me about the price of it. And I mean, we make a little bit of money, but it pays for our alumni night, which is coming up on the 31st, I think. Yeah, the 31st. So we'll have all our alumni night where the Gopher Hockey Alumni Association pays for all the alumni and the guests that want to come back for a game. And then we have a little happy hour for everybody, and it's fully hosted, but guys still ride me a little bit about the $175 for the golf tournament.
It's curious, right? It's curious. Yeah.
We're actually getting to a point now where we almost need to do 2 golf tournaments because we're filled up, and nobody really wants to be out there for like 7 hours. So,
No.
130, 140 is kind of what you can get away with before it gets really slow. And most
Are you going to try to do a double shotgun? Have a morning crew
honestly,
and an evening crew?
If we keep growing at this pace, I feel like we're gonna have to. Which
I think that could make an interesting gallery for the afternoon round.
Yeah,
like where people are holding others accountable. Like if you think there's a standard in the locker room, wait till you see the standard on 8 green when you've got 20 alums watching you drive, chip, and putt.
Yeah, we've got two going off. We'll have a lunch in the middle, and then the other guys could go. Yeah, it could be really awesome. We had a great attendance, and it's just grown every single year. So yeah, more fun to come, I guess. So
I mean, if you could charge $500 and you can play Hazeltine, double shotgun, and they've got the room for the galleries. I mean, I think that's just I've solved your problem.
Something we did talk about for Gopher Helmet or Golden Helmet Collective was possibly bringing back the Mariucci Classic Golf Tournament and have, we say, hey, well, whatever, X amount for a foursome, and you'll have a celebrity who will probably be an All-American, a captain, or an NHL player as your player to play with you for fans as well. I thought that would kind of be something unique and different. So if and when we ever roll out the NIL Collective, that was something that was going to be very prevalent, and you can sell whole sponsorships, and so it really opens up opportunities. I think we could have raised a significant amount of money there, but once again, how do you activate, get those?
How do you distribute the money?
Yeah, that's just the biggest concern. It's not can we raise money? It's how do we get it to these kids, and how do we not jeopardize their eligibility?
Yeah.
I mean, I know some people are talking about at least fully fund all those scholarships for players. And, is that something where the Golden Helmet Collective can get involved and make sure that the U does that?
Yeah, it was something that we really discussed. And actually, I don't know if Brever's still on. It's 10:30. Well, maybe. I don't know what his bedtime looks like, but one thing that we talked about, and we positioned this because the NC, they had said, hey, if the kids get the deals, they really want it, like the kid, to go out and do their own thing. They don't want the NIL guys to be influential in this. And I said, okay. And my question to the legal counsel at the athletic department was, let me propose something. Since the NCAA wants all these kids to get their own deals, and most of these NIL collectives are for profit, they charge about 15% commission on any of the deals that come in, which I think is ridiculous. We were going to be 100% volunteer. Certainly we'd have some expenses, but 100% of the net profit would go to these kids. One of the things I asked, I said, okay, since the NIL Go approves almost all those deals that are direct, and they want the kids to go do it, what happens if we just gave the collective to the kids and they ran it? We ran it as a limited partnership, and you would have ownership or a limited partnership stake for the term of your eligibility. And the legal counsel, it kind of just blew their hair back because nobody had ever really asked that, because for a lot of these owners of the collectives, it's kind of their golden goose. They weren't going to give that up, where we were going to do it 100% volunteer. So it's something that we haven't really gotten an answer on. And I would have no problem just turning it over to the kids and say, listen, hey, everybody gets a 26th of a share of this, or however many it is, for the term that you're at the University of Minnesota. And you could hire somebody to just go out and get NIL team deals, right? Private skate with the Gophers, X amount of money. Do that 5 or 10 times a year. There's certainly businesses that would love to have all of their clients and prospects come out for a skate with the Gophers, or whatever it is, right? Everybody gets a team car, or whatever, but I think that would be really interesting. So that's kind of an idea that's been thrown out there, and it's never been really battle tested because no collectives have been willing to ever do that.
Where are you, Brever? Did you go to bed already?
I'm waiting on what works. My phone's not ringing yet. No.
It's like, I've been advised no comment on this issue, is what Brever might say. But it's an interesting space. It's just like the Wild West, all these collectives and stuff, and what people are willing to do. And I think people who support Minnesota just have to be a little bit patient with it and see where it goes. I don't think Minnesota is going to stick their neck out on anything and risk punishment or ramifications for their student athletes. It's just not the way they do business.
Yeah, we would never want to tarnish the reputation of the program, the university. So I think it behooves us to just take it a little slow, and for the biggest thing for the fans to know that this is not dead. I think about this all the time. There's tons of text going on, but it's an exercise in patience more than function, because we have to let this play itself out, and we cannot make a misstep, especially when you're dealing with kids' eligibility, because the NCAA, I mean, look what the NCAA did. They banned collectives 1 week, and what was it, a week and a half, 2 weeks later, they're just kidding. Collectives are okay. We're just not going to approve any of your deals, or not disapprove them or decline them. We're just going to let them sit in purgatory.
And I thought I read this week, SEC football was thinking about, let's just go on our own.
Yeah.
Like, what do we even need the rest of the leagues, or what do we need to do with negotiate with the Big Ten? Why don't we just have our own league, own rules?
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild what people are thinking about, like the private equity that's getting involved in things, and the purse strings.
Because private equity never ruins anything.
And it's going to get a little wild out there for sure, right? Because these collectives have just said, screw it. We're just going to pay these guys. And if the NCAA asks a student athlete, they're under, and I'm not a lawyer, but I'm summarizing kind of what I've heard and what I've read, that we're not under any obligation to show you open up our books. And is a young student athlete under a legal obligation to show his tax filings? I don't know if they are. I don't think the NCAA could ever ask for that. So that was kind of a conversation that collectives were having, just saying, we're just going to pay it out. And they have no recourse to demand your tax filings as an individual citizen. So who knows? I've got but that's just what I've read and what we've heard and talked about. It is wild.
It's very wild. I often think of like students, they have to do their FAFSA or whatever, for financial aid, if that's part of the process, if that's how they're planning on catching it or something. I have no idea. Like if that's part of being a student athlete, all of a sudden you have to do that. I always wonder, what do the contracts look like that players are signing right now? It feels like all the universities are very hesitant to share what's actually going on.
Oh yeah. And they're all 1099 too. So.
Yeah. And you do these Freedom of Information Act requests, and like that's student private data, can't release it. I was like, well, at some point, some of these financials are going to start coming out, like how much money is distributed to each program. And, we'll see.
Well, what was the kid
for hockey?
What was the kid that just left? Coy
Parrish.
Yeah, that just left. And, I think that there was something on Twitter that, okay, a quarterback is like 1 to 3 million, and a tackle is this, and a running back is this, and a wide receiver is this much. And it was kind of insane. Right. And I mean, if Coyle was ever listening, I'd be like, well, it seems like the football team kind of sucks either way. So why don't you just give 20 million to the hockey team? They'll do a lot with it. So,
but the football program has 50,000 seats to sell, and
oh, I know.
It's a challenge. It's, if you're going to be in the game, you got to be in the game.
How has attendance been for hockey? It's still pretty good, hasn't it? Like, I haven't looked at what the attendance.
It looks pretty full this weekend. I saw some people talking on the message board that it's looking pretty good this weekend.
This weekend should be good. Wisconsin could be a sellout.
Yeah. Because I got an email that said, hey, there's, discounted tickets or whatever for the next 10 games or whatever it was. And then I thought, geez, are they having a hard, usually if you're discounting tickets, it's an issue, right? But then I looked at the availability, and it was not a ton. And
I think what the athletic department is trying to do is fill the building as much as they can for these programs right now. Like, I know the basketball program was doing discounted tickets after they had a couple big wins. Like, they're just trying to create atmosphere. Because, everyone I talk to, when the building's full, it's a lot more fun. So they're doing what they can to get as many people in the building as possible. So I think you'll see kind of full buildings and trying to pack it as much as they can.
It was always funny. What was it? I would almost say right before Bob came back, and I think they had played when it was Lucia was still there, and they played North Dakota, and it was kind of like 90% full. And all the players, I was down in the locker room, and they were like, that was unreal. I thought, God, that was kind of like when we played the international game against Vålerenga. It would suck. Like, or the French national team, where I thought it kind of sucked relative to, Gopher hockey's just changed so much, right? When I played, you just turned on Midwest Sports Channel, and if you went to any bar in the state of Minnesota, the Church of Gopher Hockey was on Friday and Saturday nights at 7 p.m. That was it, right? So
there's a reason why Frank Mazzocco still gets those 3-cent checks from from Fargo and what's the old Grumpy Old Men, because going through a bar, you'd see a Gopher hockey game up on the TV, or you'd hear it playing, and not so much anymore.
Well, I think the Wild coming back, was a big impact on that as well. So, like, you were in that era.
No, I wouldn't say that, because between 2000 and 2010, the Gophers ruled television when it came to sports fees. Maybe not money-wise, ratings-wise, they were kicking the Wild's butt. They were kicking the Timberwolves' butt by a full point in ratings. But
really, I have no idea. Is it true? Is that true? Actually,
yep. Really? Judd Zulgad used to do a media
column in the Star Tribune,
yep. And he would talk about that around the time when you were playing. Even the Wild were getting beat, and the Timberwolves were getting beat by a full point by Gopher Hockey on, I think it was FSN by then.
Well, I know there was a. I know,
and you're still the highest rated national championship game is 2002.
Well, I know Marion Gabrick was not happy with one of the Gopher players. It's a little older than me, but apparently he met Gabrick's girlfriend, and there was a altercation a long time ago.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and Marion showed up at the hockey house. It didn't go too well for him.
Showed up at a hockey house? Ooh.
Yeah, at one of the back in the day. It didn't go
Dylan
too well.
Mills step in and take care of business.
He basically got the wheels beat off him, but yeah.
Jeez.
We are on the overtime, right? So
yeah,
nobody sees this ever. No, just kidding. No. So yeah, no, he came there, and he's a young, 18, 19 kid, and he wasn't happy about that, and so.
You may be a good hockey player at 18 or 19, but
teachable moment.
Yeah, you still got to get your ass kicked if you try to do something like that.
Yeah.
What I mean, I do think like as more of these like Canadians and CHL and international people see like what college hockey is, they're just like, oh wow, 18 to 25-year-olds playing on the same rink. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, and I mean, I talked to Anna Leave about Herman, and he was blown away by college hockey. He's like, this is where they play, and the women's rink was so nice. He was so blown away. And I mean, I think there's a lot of room for Swedish players just to come over, because I think the Swedish league does an incredibly good job. And if you're going to be a first or second rounder, then go play in the Swedish elite league, and you'll probably catch a regular shift. But if you're not Nicholas Backstrom or an elite Swedish player, you probably are going to be on the fourth line, maybe, as a 18 or 19-year-old. The league is really good.
Mhm.
And even if you go to the second league, like, just to put it in perspective, if you're a North American, if you're an American, you have to play in the NHL before the Swedish elite league will take you. Maybe if you've got a couple AHL games. And if you're in the second league, you better be like a mid to upper AHL player before they're going to take you. Maybe an extremely high East Coast player. And you think about that level of play for a 17 or 18-year-old kid, you're not, and even if you're super skilled, you're not getting on the power play. And so I've told Swedish guys, I said, listen, if you're going to be a first, second rounder, you're good to stay in Sweden, get drafted, go play in the elite league, you make a good salary. But if not, it's way better for these Swedish guys to come over and play college hockey. 100%.
Yeah.
And get an education.
Well, and just like the training, the practice, the development, the experience, it makes so much sense for kids 18 to 23 to do that in college. Or it's probably going to be 19 to 23 now with all the players that can come. It's going to be really hard to be an 18-year-old and play college hockey, as we're going to see here with Mr. Cullen and Mr. Harper as they try to make their transition.
The nicest rink I played in was probably HV71 or Brenus, which is where Nicholas Backstrom was from. And it was like the locker room, the weight room, the facilities was a huge step down from Gopher hockey 20 years ago. Like it was kind of like walking into a time warp. Usually those teams, they keep the money on the ice. They're going to pay you, but and I totally get it. Hey, a 45-pound plate from 1980 still weighs 45 pounds, right? Like, it doesn't, it's kind of the same thing. But yeah, it was a facilities wise, a big step backwards.
But now the teams want to know, how fast do you move that 45-pound plate off your chest? Like, that's become a thing now. It's like, those bands that they put on the bench, and like your explosiveness, and like they measure that, and the speed and the pause, and there's also the resistance stuff. Like, the guys work with Cal, and they're just like, yeah, we do all this weird band stuff, and like all of a sudden I'm faster, I'm more explosive, I'm a better player, and I weigh less, and it's weird.
Yeah, Cal starts talking about his trifastic. He'd actually be a great guy. Have you ever had him on the podcast?
We have not. I've interviewed him a lot, and I've tried to pitch stories like to The Athletic about him, and I just haven't gotten anywhere with it. But he's a fun guy to talk to.
Oh, he's hilarious.
He's got so much stuff.
He likes. I don't know if he likes beers for the overtime, but he gets really into it, and it was incredible because we had Brad Arnett my freshman year. Whew, it was like Sergeant Slaughter. Like, he wore like the military boonie hat out there.
And wow.
I mean, you just went out there and got your ass handed to you every single day. And I remember Eric Wendell, who was probably, we used to call him Drago because he was so ripped from the Rocky movies. Like, oh my God, Drago was over there, like, just crushing weights. And he got so mad at Eric, he threw like a 45-pound plate at him from like 30 feet away, just like discus threw it at him. This guy, Brad, was jacked. I think his kid plays for University of Wisconsin football right now. but he was intense. And I remember I was a big guy, and it was like, we're doing all these like Olympic deadlifts and like RDL shrugs. And I put on so much lean muscle mass like my first year. I was like, Jesus, I'm putting on way too much weight here. Like, I got to be able to move this weight. And he got so mad at me because I told him, I said, listen, Brad, like, I full respect for what you're doing, and clearly I'm getting stronger. But like, I got a scholarship to play hockey and lift weights, not to lift weights and play hockey. Like, if this is getting insane, I got to be able to like move. Like, I'd be able to wipe my ass here. I'm just getting so huge and jacked. Like,
Yeah.
That did not go over well with Brad. But Cal was super understanding. Like, when Cal came in, it was a total change of mentality, and it was technology, and the amount of reading and literature that he was doing was really cutting edge. And I think he stayed on the forefront. I mean, geez, like last summer, he was in Switzerland or Germany giving a seminar about his training methods. So.
Well, he's got the RPR stuff now, where like activating muscles and stuff, and he's very much like build up the muscle and then lean down and develop the speed. He's like,
oh, by the way, Eric Trevor is a wig. I just saw this.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
He's just staying offline.
Kids are in bed.
Yeah, he got a hall pass.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
But Cal's awesome, man. Like, he's fun to talk to. He tells lots of good stories. All the data. He's like a very data-driven guy, which makes so much sense. And like, I feel like people get into the strength and conditioning, and like they're into the lifting part, but they're not about the science part.
Yeah.
And he's into it. So
yeah,
go ahead.
No, when Don was there, I think Bob has kind of loosened the reins a little bit with Cal. Like, when Don came in, he just decided, yeah, we're gonna run, because Don loved to do long distance running, and he would show up in these like the tiniest little shorts you've ever seen. Like, it was so bad, like with the high slits, like up the side, like almost up to the waistband. And he would just be on the treadmill, just jogging away, for like an hour or two. And then he said to us, he's like, okay, all you guys, we're going to have to run 2 miles in under 12 minutes, which is a pretty good clip. And most of us have more sprinters muscles, right? 45-second shifts. We're not out there running 12 minutes. Like, yeah, cardio is great, but most of us didn't make it. There are a few guys that did. And then he said the next day, we said, okay, you guys don't want to run distance. We're going to run sprints. So we ran 200s. And I think you had to do it in, I don't know, 45, 50, whatever the time was, to run halfway around the track. And then you got to like kind of lightly jog back. You had like a minute or 2 minutes to jog back diagonal across the track. And we did that 15 times. And Jordan and I are built similarly. Like, we're kind of stocky guys. And we were finishing right at the end. Like, whatever the time was, it was like 3, 2, 1. And, Don would hit the timer for Jordan and I. And the last one, our 15th one, we just said, I was like, Jordan, let's just put the pedal to the metal here. Let's go. And we just emptied the tank, and we ended up winning our heat of the guys that were going. And all the guys are sitting there like, okay, great. We got that all done. And Don said to us, he goes, all right, guys, good job. We got overtime. We're going to run another one. And Jordan looked at me and just went, just puked right there. And then I puked, and I saw him puke. So we both puked. And then we went and we ran it, and we did fine. And I always tell that story because what happened in the national championship game, we went into overtime and did that extra one. So I always think, like, obviously physically it didn't make us that much stronger, better, faster, or anything like that. But mentally, I think it pushed us that much. And quite honestly, like, that was not uncommon for guys to puke. Like, we were pushing each other hard to push guys puking in the locker room, and nobody laughed at them. Nobody laughed when guys puked or made fun of them. You went out and you patted the guy on the ass and said, good job, because you know what? That guy is willing to suffer for the team and give it up for the guys. So that was go run some 200-yard sprints. Then I guess it was a good learning lesson.
Did you ever have to do the beep test in your days as an athlete?
Yeah, that was big in Sweden.
It's a big European thing, right?
Yeah. I might have said my knee hurt a little bit, and I didn't do it.
Okay.
What is the beep test, Vigs?
So the beep test is supposed to be like more of a soccer, hockey athlete sprint test. You have to do a series of sprints, and you have to make it before the beep. And so the times get shorter and shorter as you go to test your fitness. And like the elite athletes can really go along in it. It's only like a 15, 20-minute test, I think.
Yeah, it's an ass
right?
kicker. No. It's like 40.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's like 40 yards you sprint. And then, you had to, the first time let's say it's a minute. And then
you have more recovery early.
Yeah.
And less recovery as you go on.
50, 40, where you got to make that beep before it goes. And yeah, there's a little recovery. It's that thing sucked. It was almost as bad as the VO2 max, because the VO2 max on the bike was brutal, because because even guys that are in really good shape, your blood sugar drops. So usually they have like a Jolly Rancher there for you, just because your blood sugar drops, and that's the reason you puke. And you would go so hard, and it was such a difficult physical exertion that your blood sugar would drop so fast, and a lot of times guys would puke.
Yeah, because you can't keep up with your breathing.
Yeah, and you have a tube in your mouth too.
Yeah,
because it's measuring your like carbon dioxide output, or it sucked. That one was brutal. And then in Sweden they also ran the Cooper test, which is like 3,000 meters, which is 3.5 times around the track, how fast you could run that.
I actually read something once about Victor Hedman, about how he changed his training methods more towards like beep test and that kind of training to optimize for that. And that's kind of what unlocked him as a player. It's like he stopped doing like the long, slow distance. He's like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So like, I need to be effective for 60 to 90 seconds, and then I can recover and then go again. And he's like, it unlocked a new level for him as an athlete. So
the Swedes were unreal, because they just did all this long distance running in the woods stuff. And it was funny because I'd go there, and you'd go there at the end of July, and they have no summer ice. Like most of the time they have no summer ice, because soccer is the big sport, right? Yeah. There's kids aren't playing hockey. They maybe work with the ball and, hands and some physical fitness stuff, but it's all running. So we would go out there right away, and first thing they do, and all right, Mr. Angel's going to finish dead last in this running thing, because we never ran. But guess what? I'd been on the ice all summer. So when we would go out on the ice, then I just whipped the shit out of those guys, because they hadn't skated in 4 months. So yeah, that was always fun. I hated going over there early. The worst one was Russia, though. That was insane. Because
the Russia camp is just pure brutality, right?
Yeah.
In terms of fitness stuff.
Yeah, the physical fitness stuff was insane, but the worst part was you couldn't breathe. Not because you're in the altitude, but the pollution where we were we were Metallurg Novokuznetsk. So we were the metal factory of Novokuznetsk. And you'd see gray smoke, black smoke. How about orange smoke coming out of one of those pipes? Like, that's not good at all. And we went there mid-July, and it was still pretty hot there, and there's no air conditioning. I had my windows open for 2 days, and I could take my finger and put it on the windowsill, and it was just black from the soot. It was crazy. So when it would snow, you'd get like the white snow, and then there would be lines. It looked like the Grand Canyon, where there was just like erosion lines where like the soot would land on top, and then it would snow, and you could go through all the levels. It was wild. I remember running, and I was talking with Jeff Ulmer, who played at North Dakota. He was on our team for like 2 months, and then they bought him out of his contract. I was so jealous, because they gave him a couple $100,000, and he got to
Uh-oh.
Oh no,
His computer died.
your died. I wanted to ask Nick. It's like when you go to the doctor and they're like, so how much do you drink a week? And you can answer, and how much you're a smoker. Like he goes, oh no, but I played pro hockey in Russia for a while, so there's probably something in my body that we should account for.
Yeah,
It's like that can't be good.
Or whatever, the Russians got him.
Putin's always watching. KGB.
Oh, well, hey, that's how it goes.
That is how it goes. The Russians want to keep their information safe, so Nick Angell, no more OT.
No more of Nick Angell.
No more OT.
We took care of Nick Angell. He's okay. What did he?
He'll be fine.
My internet just died.
Oh,
that's fine. That's fine. What else is going on, Viggs?
I could get into a different conspiracy theory on that, but
well, how are you feeling about this? January could. I'm worried about this January, Viggs. This is a gauntlet. And let's see. And lost his internet. No, wait, now he's back. Look at that.
Got a hotspot.
The oligarch hacked my computer.
It's like no disinformation on Russia will be allowed from Nick.
No pollution. There's no pollution.
Very safe. Very
clean
safe.
air.
What was I talking about? Something about Russia. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Nick, Ulmer got bought out.
Oh yeah, so Ulmer got like $300,000 and got to leave. I was like, hold on, you get $300,000 and you get to leave, and I got to stay in this shithole. So that sucked. But yeah, it was pretty wild. So we're out there running on the track, and Jeff and we can taste it in our mouth, like the pollution. And one of the young Russians came running by us, and he was a young kid drafted by, I think, the Capitals. And he just
said, "This is the fashionable goalie."
No, that was Bobrovsky. Yeah, so no, there's another kid. There's another kid you might have heard of. Young Russian defenseman drafted by the Capitals, and he goes, taste money, because like that's who pays our salary. It was the metal factory. That guy was Dmitry Orlov, who played for the Capitals for a while, and I think he was in. Do you go to Florida or Philly or something? I can't remember where, but most of his career was with the Capitals.
Yeah, good power play guy.
Yeah, so and he likes to hit too. He's not a big guy, but he liked to smash. So yeah, but that was wild. So
I bet. Jeez.
Yeah, it was.
You probably didn't hear this, but I was like, when you go to the doctor and they ask you like how much you drink, how much you smoke, do you always chime in? It's like, well, I did live in Russia for a while, so that's should probably do some extra blood work with me.
Oh yeah, I had to go back because we did the initial visa, and that was awesome because we were in training camp. We went to Switzerland, and they had messed up my visa, so I had to go back to the Russian embassy in Washington D.C., which was awesome because then I didn't have to like go through the crazy training camp up in the mountains, but before I had to stop in Moscow to fly Moscow to Washington, D.C., there was these crazy fires, like forest fires, and you couldn't even see the sun. It just looked like a little orange dot in the sky. It was so much smoke and pollution. And I don't know what I inhaled there, and I flew back. And as soon as I landed, I started getting sick. And I had to go to the Russian embassy and get my, like a new visa and all this stuff. And I'm sitting in the embassy, and it's coming out of like both ways. Right. And I'm thinking, if I puke or shit myself in the embassy, that's not looking good for getting your visa here at all. So we ended up getting the visa. I had to stay like 2 days because I got so sick. I couldn't even get out of bed. But yeah, there was a crazy amount of pollution there. It was wild. Ugh. Not a lot of social services there.
No.
What's the medical care like in the KHL?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Well, we had to. Okay, now we're having fun. So we had to do our team physical, and we went to this. It looked like something you'd see out of a horror movie. This hospital. We walked in. This is the hospital. I was like, oh, this looks like an insane asylum. So you had to go there, and like each It was crazy. And each room you had to go to like a different room, and they'd have a test, one for your eyes, one for your ears, whatever. And you know the old test, like turn your head and cough kind of thing that they give you. The one lady said something to me, and I had no idea what she's saying. And I was like, yeah, Amerikanski, like I'm American. And the one lady like wouldn't touch me when she found out I was an American. And the other one couldn't wait. So it was really weird. But I mean, the medical was crazy. We had our doctor, who was awesome, super good guy. He used to wear those Skechers shoes, you know, that like the ones that had kind of the rolling heel.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
rocker. Yeah.
And he would always like walk by me and be like, Nick, and then he'd like flex his butt and be like, nice, like, because he thought those shoes were giving him a good butt.
Isn't that nice?
Awesome guy, like hilarious, complete booze bag. So 2 years after I left, I called the team translator. I was like, Sergey, what's going on? Hey, how's Crazy Doc? What's he doing? He said, oh, you didn't hear about Doc? No, what happened to Doc? He's, oh, Doc died. How did he die? We had this, it looked like a tanning booth, but it was more like a capsule that you would go in, and it was like a heat sauna, and it would heat up in there, and just your head was like sitting out. Well, Doc got all banged up after one of the games and jumped in that thing and cooked himself. He passed
Never
out.
came out.
Like, what a way to go.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So the medical care there is different. And then, you know, you got all your World Anti-Doping Agency stuff. They were trying to give us like the IV stuff. And
Yeah, we were going to talk about the WADA and after we talked about the Cascade CBX Sport.
Yeah. So I knew all about WADA because I read through the contract, and it's like, okay, I have to pass all of the World Anti-Doping Agency, the WADA doping controls. And then they were trying to give me an IV, and I said, I'm not going to take it. And I knew the doc was pissed. The GM was pissed that I wasn't going to take their IV. And they called me into the office the next day, and they said they were going to terminate me. And I was like, okay, great. Give me the Jeff Almer deal and give me my couple $100,000. I get to leave. And they said, no, you'll get nothing. And then I was prepared for it. I pulled out my contract, which, you know, section 2.1 says I have to pass all mandatory doping. And then I pulled out the WADA rules saying section 5.2 says IV usage is considered a doping procedure. And, and I finished out the year there, unfortunately. I should have negotiated that differently, I guess. I don't know.
What'd you open up there, Viggs?
Bucci to be proud.
Oh, Buffalo Trace.
Oh. Well, now we got to play it. Got to play it now.
Oh, the twisted wrister. Top shelf, where Mama keeps the Buffalo Trace.
Oh, I want that. Viggs, I kind of want to send that video clip with you saying those exact words.
No.
Where Mama has the Buffalo Trace.
I'm sure Grok could do it for you. You know, don't worry.
Oh man, that is. I don't think I've ever cried on air before.
That was a shocker for you guys, eh?
Oh man, was it?
I haven't played with Grok like that, Nick. I'm sorry. It's hasn't even entered my brain that I would want to do that. So.
Oh.
Buffalo Trace.
I can't reply to that. That's just.
Oh, the twisted wrister. Top shelf, where Mama keeps the Buffalo Trace.
I got that video clip going right now. I can't even.
I had to turn it off because when it ended, it like froze on the last scene.
On the last
and
scene,
like,
and yeah.
I had to no, I can't be looking at that.
I brought it up because your internet died. So.
Oh boy!
Now I feel a little bit like Craig Ferguson. I'm just like, well, let's go to the end here, I guess.
Awkward pause.
Awkward pause.
That was a good show.
Eat some kale.
One of my favorites.
Eat some kale.
We've had some good. I mean, I've been on here a couple of times. We've had some good moments. That one might be up there. I don't know. Is that going to make the highlight reel on the Twitter 10-second? Were you
Definitely it's definitely in the cold open, you know. So.
Yeah. Hello. What are you drinking today? I've got 2 on tap right here.
Give me a prediction at the end of the season, guys. Let's get back to some hockey.
Okay.
It's going to be Debbie Downer. Are we going to have some positive vibes? Are we going to
Nick, you got a good feel for like locker room. Like,
it's got to be tough right now.
Is there real progress? Like you gave a hell of a treatise tonight about like what teams have to do. How do you feel about that with, that was 23 years ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the game's changed.
Yeah. Does that even resonate with the kids these days? Right. Like, I mean, I saw in the chat where people were, wow, that was great. That was cool. Let's do that. Can you give them a talk? But does that even resonate with the kids?
Right? We're a different demographic now. Like we've got so many kids are like, my goal isn't, watching Miracle and saying, yeah, why'd you go to college? I want to win a national championship. I want to get the NHL. It's a different mindset even then to now to forward.
I think winning is contagious. And I think these guys do have some really good talent. I don't think they've got the confidence right now. And like I said, I think you put the culture in first and the confidence follows, but they are young, right? And maybe it's like a little Sun Tzu's The Art of War. If we could get them to win a game or two, get a little swagger in their step, they're young enough that if they win a couple games towards the end of the year, I wouldn't want to be a team that plays them. Team that's got a bunch of young talent that just doesn't know that they shouldn't win. That would be my hope, is that they get a couple of those games towards the end of the year that give them a real look. I mean, I guess, do they get into the playoffs? How does it all work? Right.
It's certainly looking like they have to win the conference tournament to get in.
Yeah. For sure.
But it's going to be on the road, and unless they can win 4 out of 2 here to close the month, which obviously I picked them losing both games, so they have to win the next 4.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I'm putting money on the line, obviously I think probably going to drop 2. It's a really good team, but optimistically, as a Gopher fan, clearly, like, look at my office. I hope they snipe one, but I do think if they can steal one, it gives them a little swagger to know, hey, yeah, they probably didn't have their best goalie, but we did beat the best team in the country right now. So let's go out there and give it. Let's play together. And I don't know what Bob has to say to these guys. And obviously, if they think that this is their path to the NHL, or however it works, that together they can achieve a little bit more than they can individually.
Well, I think pro hockey teams like winners. You know what I mean? Like that's a skill. Like if you're able to win and play as part of a team, like I think that's still a desired attribute out of players.
So yeah, you got Michigan there. We got Michigan State coming the following weekend at Michigan State. We got Wisconsin coming in after that. Viggs, we've talked about it, winning obviously helps. Splitting this weekend, splitting with, if they were to split the rest of them, this whole next three weekends, it would be good for them, especially if you split at Michigan State.
Yeah. I definitely think there's a path for them to get back into the top 20 here if they do that. They just need to play that way. And, you can't throw away a game like they did Friday at Penn State and expect it just to all work out on Saturday. Because I thought they played well enough to win Saturday. They just didn't. And you can't do that in college hockey. Parity. So I don't know what the message is that the coaching staff can that resonates with these guys, because I don't know if it's resonating right now.
Yeah, it's either the stick or the carrot, right? And I don't know if Bob's giving them the carrot or the stick. I
He says he's not giving the stick and
feather. Use that reference.
Well, he said he's using the feather. And you look at their ice time, he's not punishing anybody.
But that's the thing now. Like, can you even give him the stick, right? Because, hey,
you take the ice time. You take away power play time from guys. You take away penalty kill from guys. But
my point is when I went to the U, if they said, "Hey Nick, you're going to be a power play guy," and then guess what? It didn't happen. What was I going to do? Guess what? I'm still here for another 3 years. Where now, if they use the stick on somebody, they're on the portal 15 days after the national championship. That's where it's like, it's such a different animal, right? Like, can you even use the stick anymore?
And here's my perspective on that. If a guy can't handle the stick, do you want him in your culture?
Yeah. But
that's my thing. Like,
yeah, but if you're an agent and because all these kids have agents now, right? It's like, okay, this kid, hey, this is my player. He's X and he's not getting this time. And I've got another 3 teams lined up ready to go. And I feel like the agents push that a little bit more than I think the kids are sometimes more loyal than the agents or the parents would be.
I think you're right on that.
But
I just think the modern player needs to know the why. And if you can explain the why, you shouldn't be afraid to use the stick.
Yeah.
And Bob talked about that going into break. He's like, hey, second half, we're going to have to start making some hard decisions about who's going to go where. Do we need to shake up personnel? There's no real shakeup. So,
yeah, if I'm not there in the third period, hopefully it's just because my kids are ready to go.
Oh boy.
It's because you weren't willing to buy one more pack of Sour Patch Kids.
Oh, dad. I mean, honestly, I'm bribing them with whatever. We did make it through one game this year where we made it all the way through the third period. It is nice though to get out and beat traffic. And then I just listened to the third period on the radio home.
My trick with my kids when they were younger was that we would do a walkabout between periods. Okay. And the candy would come at the end of the walkabout. I would hype up this tradition of, when you go to a hockey game, the walkabout.
Like Mick Dundee, the walkabout.
Yeah, you got to go on a walkabout. You got to do a lap. You got to do a hot lap. And if you run into somebody, run into someone that you know before I run into someone I know, you get whatever you want.
All right.
And so your kids are out looking around, looking for friends. You've got some people in your neighborhood who I'm sure go to games.
So. Well, the nice part is back in the day, you didn't have to tip out the person too. Now you got to tip them out at Marriott Sheets. I normally wouldn't, but I feel bad because they're all volunteers too. It's like, Jesus, sorry. All right, I guess I will give you a little extra. I guess we'll round up on this one.
Round up for your charity of choice.
Yeah. And maybe a golden helmet will be out there. It'd be me like, would you like a popcorn or?
Hey, go beer here.
Go beer.
I'd go buy a popcorn from an alum. Why not?
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get the boys out there. $175 for a full day of golf, and they're gonna bust my ass.
I gotta volunteer and serve beer.
Oh my God, yeah.
I did it at the Ryder Cup. I had a great time. So serving beer for feeding my starving children.
Gosh, is I can't remember his name who played. He played Rubes hockey a little bit. Felix, who was it? Who's the greenskeeper at Hazeltine now?
Really? I didn't know.
POI. Who was
Trimbaugh? No.
Chris Trimbaugh? No, not. It was somebody whoever's the lead. He was the lead greenskeeper at the last at the Ryder Cup at Hazeltine. I remember he's a GPL. I can't. More of a POI guy back in the day, but see if I don't know if anybody in chat.
Are you guys going to put together like an alumni skate again for the?
Oh, jeez, I don't want to skate.
I got my Cascade CBX. I'm ready to go. I'm gonna skate Friday morning. I'm all
Mine
about
is
it.
just lack of skill.
CCM released some like retro tacks
Did you buy
that
it?
were, I don't know, did you see those?
I did.
Yeah, I tried getting them in my set, but they were like limited edition, and I like the old Micron with like the old Ray Bork with like white on the toe, like inside those things. 1090s, I think maybe Micron 1090s. Those things was those are the best. If I've tried to find those on eBay because I would just go out and rock those bad boys.
I found a graph, kind of went independent, and I always relied on graphs, and I was able to get some graph skates to replace my old graphs that were falling apart, and I've never made a better purchase.
One of my
You remember this guy, Veeks, by the way?
I know the name here because I was trying to remember how to pronounce his last name, but I don't remember him as a POI guy.
He was a POI.
Amazing.
I cannot remember his name offhand.
Yep.
If someone else was there, I don't see any old school people in the chat that would remember. But
speaking of graph, I went out and skated one of my actually through the Gopher alumni network. I probably have to protect his identity a little bit for a good reason. One of the alumni's, we'll just say relative, I'll keep it really vague, is actually a new Navy SEAL for one of the teams. And I have some friends in that community, and I recognized a shirt that one of the guys was wearing at our alumni event. And I said, "Where'd you get that?" So I said, "Oh, it's my relative that's just went through BUDS training." And I said, "Well, that's amazing. I'm actually going to be out on that base next week." So I connected with him. And yeah, he's big hockey fan. And there's actually a couple SEALs that are really big hockey fans. In fact, Adam Schwarzy, who's not a political like pump up, but he's running for U.S. Senate. This guy went to Bloomington Kennedy. He's a Bloomington Kennedy guy. And then 9/11 happened on his 18th birth when he was a senior. And so September. And then in October, he turned 18, joined the Marines, became a Marine for 10 years, got his promotion, became an officer, top 1%, and then was a SEAL for another 10 or 11 years and got out. He's actually running for U.S. Senate. But I skated with him. That guy loves graph. It's all graph. Everything is graph. I was kind of razzing him a little bit about the amount of graph. I said, geez, I played in Europe for 10 years, 12 years, and I don't even have that much graph stuff.
I had graph gloves in high school. I was a big graph believer. It was like the last handmade skate. So,
yeah. Adam Schwarzy married another Gopher connection. Married Marvin from Marvin Windows. So, yeah, or is engaged too. I think they just got engaged. So, yeah. I always thought it would be fun if the NIL collective just put if we were able to raise some money and got to send the team out as a team building exercise to the Navy SEAL compound and did some team building exercise. I thought that would have been probably one of the coolest things ever to do that. That's on the 10-year plan for the collective.
I mean, that's a way to use the funds is to support team building. So,
yeah.
What do you do?
I mean, the SEALs know how to build teams, and they know how to deliver selfless leaders. So,
yeah, they're amazing guys. Yeah, I've gotten a chance to kind of hang out with some of those guys, and one of my buddies from Duluth was a lieutenant commander for SEAL Team 6, and I've kind of gotten into that community and helped do some fundraising and stuff for them. And it's amazing how many hockey guys there are, actually. So, yeah, I'll send you the stats of the Gopher.
I'm afraid of things you send to me now.
I'm nervous to open that link.
Yeah.
If it's a 6-second video, it's going to be interesting.
Oh man.
Gronk limit for the $30 a month. Gronk limit.
Good to know.
Videos.
I thought Vine was bad, but man,
I was like, I don't remember sending you any videos from Tampa. So
started out good.
All right, we need to call it a night.
Classic.
I'm tired.
Probably, yeah.
We'll keep talking a little bit afterwards because we got to make sure all our video is uploaded. But
we got to be able to
put
clip
on.
you into the opens now. Next,
we got to be able to clip something.
I'm just glad the KGB didn't kick me off again here.
I was worried for you.
You should be. All right, we're gonna say goodnight, folks. Stay online here, Nick, and we'll make sure we get all the video. But everyone have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
Way too much fun for a show when a season is going like it's going. Like that was a lot of fun tonight, boys. Appreciate it.
I think it was. Got any scoops? No scoops.
I mean, the scuba is what people are saying off the